Orania is a farm. It's not a town. It's a farm, a private farm. If you've got a town settlement, you can't exclude other people. But if you've got a private farm, it's like my private home. I can decide who gets into my yard and who does not get into my yard.
After the elections, when I interviewed the president of the Freedom Front Plus, and he said, you have agreed as the ANC to formally recognize that enclave, Orania, as an Afrikaner town, and that was their condition to join the GNU. Was that proposal ever sent?
We told them that it is very much...
Guys, have you also wondered what really happened to the deal, the FF Plus, or one of the tenets of the deal it had prior to joining the GNU, or as its argument, one of its arguments for the basis of joining, a coalition government with the likes of the ANC, to form a government in South Africa. And this deal was kind of like giving a little bit much more rights to Orania in its recognition, probably as a town or something of a legal entity, to slowly maybe start having its own rights in South Africa. Now, Zamani Saul is actually giving some really important answers, which I think everyone in South Africa needs to listen. You have to watch this video to the end to be able to understand, because Orania, I believe, is actually one of those elements in South Africa that has the potential to really, give a picture or determine the future direction that South Africa would go in the future. I remember sharing a video with Africa's biggest podcaster, YouTuber right now, I think I could call him that. His name is Wode Meyer. And the video he made about Orania in South Africa as Africa's only white town, or he called it a white only town, and the comments blew up. The blacks in the Americas, the blacks in the, other African states just really couldn't imagine, Orania, a white-only town in South Africa. But the other thing that actually got a lot of people confused was how developed, the order, the organization in Orania actually was peaking compared to the wider South Africa. So these were really two disenfranchising, distorting views that actually really I believe that they spelled the future of South Africa if the issue of Orania is not tackled with wisdom and sort of clarity. So Zamani Saul here is actually arguing in this interview with Clement Maniatela really important issues. Everyone really needs to listen to this interview. First of all, he's actually trying to give a history, because a lot of blacks were really angry as to why the ANC would sell land to, probably the Oranians, so to speak, if I could call them that, to set up a town that would now exclude other. They were really angry with the ANC, and he's really giving some really deep insight into some of the negotiations that went down into carrying out that deal. And one major argument for me that really startled me is the fact that he still argues that the ANC still sees Orania as a farm and not necessarily as something else, but it's a farm. And so they have the right to exclude who they want in and out of their private farm, so to speak. But then Clement then asked about this question about, what must have happened, because Dr. Peter Grunwald was actually of the argument during the time. I remember clearly, I watched that interview during the time when he was negotiating if the FF Plus should join the GNU or not. One of the major tenets was the fact that I think the Orania, the argument anyway, that Orania should be given a leverage or a little much more right in South Africa. And Zamani Paul had some really, really interesting answers, which I think everyone on this channel should really listen to and understand, where Orania is going, where South Africa is going, where the relationship between Orania and South Africa is going, because it spells a really important future direction for the nation state of South Africa. So let's watch this interview between Zamani Saul and Maniatela and share your thoughts, guys, on Orania. This one is really powerful in the comments.
Let's move over to this issue we've just discussed with the EFF in the Northern Cape. I mean, one of the things they were demanding, or at least raising as they were marching to your office earlier today, was that they want you to review the existence of Orania, the existence of Orania there in the Northern Cape. Is it even possible to do that? How would that happen?
The issue of Orania is quite a contrived matter, but I'm quite happy for the responsible manner in which the leadership of the EFF is approaching the matter. There was engagements between the leadership of Orania and as well as the leadership of the economic freedom fighters in the province, just to try and clarify each other on the actual status of the existence of Orania. Orania is a farm, it's not a town. And every time, even when you listen to people speaking about Orania on in the news and how journalists report on it, they report as if they report on a town. It's a farm, a private farm. They don't have any declaration from provincial government or local municipality of a town establishment.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to become a town, they must make an application through the necessary processes. And obviously, if they want to become a town and make such an application, they will have to abide by the laws of this country and the requirements of what a town settlement should be.
Yeah.
If you've got a town settlement, you can't exclude other people. But if you've got a private farm, it's like my private home. I can decide who gets into my yard and who does not get into my yard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically the history and what is currently finding expression in Orania.
Mm-hmm. There was a time, I remember, after the elections when I interviewed the president of the Freedom Front Plus, and he said there are discussions that are underway. In fact, he claimed on this show that you have agreed as the ANC to formally recognize that enclave, Orania, as an Afrikaner town, and that was their condition to join the GNU. Whatever happened to that? Because I think when I spoke to you subsequently, you had indicated there was a proposal, I think, that they were going to send to you guys, and you were going to consider that and go back to them. Was that proposal ever sent?
No, we had engagements with leadership of the Freedom Front Plus, and there were two pieces of agreements. One was on the cooperation between the ANC and Freedom Front Plus with regard to the provincial legislature. The fact that they wanted the chairpersonship of the portfolio committee of Coxter, and quite a whole lot of issues which were raised on cooperation in terms of coming up with an initiative to grow the economy of the province.
Mm-hmm.
So that one, there were no problems with it because it was a purely political relationship that we were establishing with the Freedom Front in order to advance the best interest of the Northern Cape.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a second agreement which centers around the status of Orania. That agreement that centers around the status of Orania, we told them that it is very much difficult for us to commit on this because it's got national implications. We don't want to see replicas of Orania all over South Africa. We said it's a matter that we are going to forward to the national leadership. We forwarded it to the national leadership. The national leadership provided Freedom Front Plus with written responses on some of the difficulties they have to have the ANC, either the province or national, signing on that. So there's no signed agreement between us and Freedom Front Plus, but what we had is intense discussions on quite a number of issues, cooperation in the legislature, and the issue of the status of Orania.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, Clement, when we speak of the status of Orania, we tend to speak as if it's something that started yesterday. I don't know whether you had an opportunity to read the judgment of the Northern Cape High Court in 2002 on the status of Orania. Because there was a case between Thabo Mbeki and the Transitional Council of Orania, which started around late 1990s, and I think the court judgment was 2000 or 2001. And there, the Northern Cape High Court said, the issue of the status of Orania is something that has to be resolved politically. It's not something that a court should sit and resolve. Because the community, they're on basis of their right to self-determination, they say they need a separate settlement where they can nurture, grow, and develop their culture as an Afrikaner community. So the High Court here in the province then says, no, this is not a matter that belongs to the court. You guys go and sort out this issue between the national government, who was an appellant, and the community of Orania. After Sidney Mufamadi became the Minister of Local Government, he established different task teams. I think it was about 6 or 7 task teams. I see you've got Boshoff, it's Karab. He can give you a history. Myself and him, we were serving in the same task team around 2001, 2002, 2003, when I was the municipal manager of the district. Sidney then, as the minister, established a committee that should look into the status of Orania. And that committee had different work streams. I was in 2 of those work streams. I used to fly with Karel Boshoff to Pretoria, to the head office of the Minister for Local Government, to go and do the work of the committees. We as committees and the work streams, we finished our work. And a report was then drafted, final report, which was going to be tabled to the National Cabinet. I don't know where that process ended. And I'm very happy that the EFF brought the memorandum to my office. And I think this actually gives us an opportunity to ask, where is the memorandum of the committee which was established by the minister to look into the status of Orania, and the reports on the different work streams that were established?
But why is that difficult to find,
yes.
the Premier? I mean, that should be easy.
Yes, definitely. That's what we'll have to look for. And I firmly believe the work which was done by those work streams, which involved the community of Orania, which involves the district municipality, which involves provincial government, and as well as national government. The work stream I was in was actually chaired by the former DG of the Department of Local Government. We used to meet each and every month.
Yeah, but did it have to take?
Yeah,
did it have to take the EFF too much though for you guys to remember that?
No, it did not really have to take that, but I'm saying this offers us now an opportunity that we should start to seriously look into the matter.
Isn't there going to be a challenge though in that, as you said, that's a private farm, so whatever work that you do, I mean, it's not like you can force people off the land. I mean, there's things they do there. Somehow they still have statues that celebrate the apartheid leaders. They still have, I think, the apartheid flag, if I'm not mistaken. But the point is, if it's a private farm, then you are quite limited. I mean, since you were in that committee, what options did you look at that you think would be viable without violating their rights?
Yeah, no, there were different options that we looked into. I just can't remember clearly now. It's almost more than 20 years back. But then we used to have what we call as the district management area, which is called the DMA. And then one of the recommendations was to take Orania out of Siatemba municipality, Tembelihle municipality, in order for it to be a DMA area directly managed by the district municipality. So there was other option that it should be integrated with Vanderkloof in order for them to be a municipality on their own. But I think there were about 4 or 5 options which were presented. We'll have to go back. Let me tell you, with the intense work that we did with those different work streams, and as well as the committee which the minister appointed, the issue of Orania should have long been resolved now. And I think we'll have to take responsibility for the fact that this is still a lingering matter which has not been properly resolved, because the issue of the status of Orania also causes anxiety for the community of Orania, because their status are still not finalized.
All right, yeah, let's hope that, and thanks to the EFF, really, for bringing that matter to light and in the way that they've done today, because then maybe it's going to push us to go back to those reports that were worked on. Premier, thank you so much for making time for us.